Holy bananas, this episode was insane as we have Otis dueling for the first time. A park was dueling and a trap card known as Time Machine makes its return. Plus, it has some crazy powers, just like Monster Reborn, so everyone, let's talk about it. Hello everyone and welcome to Dueling with Downton, and yeah, this episode 133 was awesome. If Yuna's evil crazy laugh at the end didn't creep you out, then how about the Donamus with their menacing glare and saying, everyone, boom. And the music and the final stages of the animation was amazing. So I can't wait to talk about the episode. So I loved how this episode itself started off rather lighthearted, jolly and comedic, with both a Park and Otis being rather goofy and silly, bouncing off each other's comedic chemistry, while having a fun duel. But then as the duel approaches its final stages, you get this massive shift in tone, seeing the roadster Gilgamagia return after destruction with a smile on his face, giving you that added layer of darkness with the tone of the show, but giving the monster more personality at the same time, which we saw a little bit before when it was summoned, as it was dancing along with Otis. But then after the duel, we saw the dark power flooding the area, and the Donamus, and Yuna's laugh, and the Park's disappearance. This episode left you feeling with chills down your spine, and with a lot of questions. Honestly, I shouted at the screen while watching this episode, "No!" when seeing a Park being sucked away by the time machine. But then, why this card? Well, in the previous episode, we saw how Yuna was fantasizing about seeing Yugioh again. And where is he? Well, in some form of the future. And seeing a card like Monster Reborn having special properties, i.e. memory erasing features, Yuna could have thought that an item that she would need in order to visit Yugioh again, who's in a different time period, what better thing to travel through time than a time machine? Ultimately, just like Monster Reborn, the effects of this card are far greater than the creator could have ever imagined or control. Now then, Yuna making this card was a dumb thing, but the even dumber thing was showing Otis and not expecting him to want to use it, especially after she calls him less than when comparing him to the original Otis. Now, I love how Yuna tells the story of Otis from the beginning and putting her own unique twist on the tale. Really hyping up Yugioh within the story while calling his friends his servants. Now, another thing I loved from Yuna was that she's actively doing things that would 1,000,000% be a red flag and make Yugioh kind of dislike her more. From, trying to get Monster Reborn with the Dark Matter Empire and creating Otis again. From making a card that can time travel that she couldn't control, as well as obviously making Gohar and using the tech that once restricted the whole of Gohar City. So many different things. But then the other question that we have from this episode is, why does she want Kawaii? My guess is because of his ability to create alternative time space. Maybe she needs this or his help to perfect and safely use the time machine travel aspect of the card. But now, thanks to Otis using the card, it can't be perfected properly. Also, as a side note, I think the Dark Meister's cat was used for the creation of this card, so that's why both the cat and Yuna were missing at the end of last episode, and now only Yuna has reappeared. So back to the topic of Time Machine. Another two really interesting points about this card is the fact that at the end of the episode 128, we see Yuna holding a card that's covered, but you can just make out the purple borderlines, meaning that most likely it was this particular card that we saw. Also, its effect within the game reads the following. Requirements. When exactly one monster is destroyed by battle, effect. Special summon that monster from the graveyard to the same field it was on, in the same battle position it was when destroyed. if that monster was in maximum mode, special summon all of it together in maximum mode. Now I love how this effect mentions maximums, as none of the characters on Team Goha or in the Dark Matter Empire uses maximums. So could we see that one of them gets it? As in, someone starts using maximums from one of those two teams. Also, I'm surprised this is not a legend card, meaning you can use this in combination with Monster Reborn. So, in anime logic, you can give your opponent memory loss, and then you can send them on a one-way trip through time without their memory. That's an easy way of getting rid of your enemies, alright? Real quick then, let's talk about Epark. It was great seeing her get a new fusion monster in Double Up Chidori. It was also kind of cool, again, seeing how we got this new no more cheating development for the character, only for the plot to cheat for Epark instead, as it clearly wasn't going to land on a 6, but had it not done so, Otis would have never had any reason to use the Time Machine trap card, thus Epark would still be here. Either way, regardless of wherever she is in time, I still love the character of Epark. The only negative I have for me was the inconsistency of the animation for her character at times, because she did look a little bit odd in places. That's not her own fault, obviously, that's just the animation. So let's move on. Back to Otis. Now, he was all types of goofy within this episode, but I didn't actually hate it, as it's more like Yuki's personality is breaking through. I like the little bit of lore dump that we got at the start of the episode as well, where if we beat Otis, all of the Valkyrians will revive at the same time in masses, thanks to the mass dark matter energy that surrounds Yuki, thus allowing it to create an Otis. This is kind of like how when we beat Yugioh, it gave us more Dana moves because Yugioh is higher ranking and has more dark energy within his body. But at this point, do we want more Dana moves? Because, yeah, that image. Now I did also love seeing how Otis was using the Seven's Road archetype, but is utilising the archetype in tandem with the other Seven's Road monsters, like Witch, Wiz and Mage, and more others. Yet this method still gets the best out of Seven's Road Magician, seeing how the deck interacts with the use of levels and having darks in your grave as to different elements on cards. Seeing how Swordman of Roadstar was now able to be used as contact fusion material, that was pretty cool. And it kind of is like how one of Yuna's main cards that we saw before the events of the Dark Matter Empire has now changed into a contact fusion card. However, with this ability to use contact fusion, we now get to see a card called Roadstar Gildie Magica, a different style as to the other fusion counterpart that Yugioh used in Master of Sevens. So honestly, I want to see more of Otis using this particular archetype, because one thing I said in the start of this new arc was that I wanted Otis to use this archetype. I want to see how effective they can do it and give it more support and just make it more fun, but in a different way than Yugioh did it, kind of like how we saw at the end of Sevens, where Otis still utilises the Sevens Road archetype, but it's not the way Yugioh does. It's completely different and unique, but still very effective. And I feel like they're doing that exactly here as well. So with Yugioh still frozen and captured by Goha, let's see where the show takes us. As honestly, this episode was insane, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And if you can't wait, then hit that subscribe button and follow me for more Yu-Gi-Oh! And Vanguard content. And like the video if you did, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day, alligator, madane, goodbye.